Grand final win made us all believe. The world took note with Brisbane's fall. The Robins superb, now we won it all. Red Army, let's hear you sing with all your might. For your world champions in the red and white. We are okay, and we are the champions of the world.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Robin Pod Weekly, which is, of course, powered by Budget Tyres Auto Centre, the only car specialist trusted by the players, club officials and supporters of the world-famous Hull Kingston Rovers. Joining me to discuss all things Hull KR is Robin Pod regular Budget Kingston. You may see him on other podcasts, of course. He gets around a little bit, doesn't he? We're going to kick off with the Leeds game. Of course, we've got Magic Weekend to come, and we've got Steve Till joining us for Robins Revisited, and we've got all your questions to answer in question time, which has been red hot, as some people may expect. Bazza, let's go back to Friday night. I mean, the weather was very reminiscent of Las Vegas when we took on Leeds Rhinos previously, and of course, what was also similar was the performance from the Robins, and that's what we're going to dig into right now. The lineup for that game was Jack Broadbent, Tom Davis, Pet Hiku, Ollie Gildart. We saw Noah Booth come in for Burgess, Tyrone May, Mikey Lewis, Dean Hadley, Carl Lawton, Tom Amon, Jai Whitbread, James Batchelor, Elliot Minchella finishing up the 13. And then on the bench, we had Reece Martin, Jordan Desiree, Bill Leyland and Pangai Jr. on the bench. Of course, we was missing Sue once again, Sam Luckley. Don't forget as well, Artem Orglan, a long-term absentee, and Jez Litton, who was missing from that side. 34 points to 8 defeat. Bazza, it won a great night for the Robins, was it?
No, mate, and with respect, you've got to be better than that. Our boys, they've been around, they've done it, they know what they're coming up against, and I expected a bit more out of this game. I mean, you've got to take into the fact that there was some adversity very early on. I mean, we've waxed lyrical about Dean Hadley all year, and for a few years now, and losing Dino so early, and it looks shocking. And you know, you've got to remember him and Tom Amon was off the field for quite a while at the start of the game, mate, and that's going to lighten up any pack, you know. And again, it was very reminiscent of what happened at Wembley when we had adversity early on at Wembley. We just didn't seem to recover, and I think that's the problem right now with Rovers is if something don't go to plan in the first 10 minutes. We never seem to be able to recover from whatever happens, whether it's a player or two going down or if we go behind on the scoreboard. We're just not finding the answers to get back into the game. And I've got to be honest with you, mate, it's quite worrying right now because this isn't the Rovers that we've become to know, we've become to get used to over the last few years. And I feel like we're lacking in answers when questions are being asked of us. It was massively disappointing. Don't get me wrong, you got to pay tribute to Leeds Rhinos for an awesome display, and basically they did to us what we was doing to many teams last year in being aggressive, bullying us, getting under our skins, and you know we just didn't cope with it, and we just could not cope with it. And you know, it was a special round for the Leeds Rhinos, with it being the MND round, and beautiful tribute to the late great Rob Burrow, mate, which was impeccable by the Leeds Rhinos. Unbelievable fan base at Headingley, great crowd. On the night, mate, it was gutting. And when the likes of Jake Connor, no matter how much we hate him, you know, he's just unplayable at times. And you know, the Leeds Rhinos pack laid that platform, and they just kept rolling us, and Jake Connor had all the time in the world to be creative, and mate, we just got beat up literally in every department in that game. And I think that the tone got set quite early, because I was filthy over it when Mikolaj Aledski pulled Mikey back to stop the support play. Now, my view, that's a professional foul, because that could have potentially been a try scoring opportunity, because Mikey was one-on-one with Lockie Miller, I believe. So, not Mikey. Whoever broke through, I can't remember, but Mikey was running up in support, and if that pass was made, Rovers go in. And the fact Mikolaj pulled Mikey back, prevented that, to me, that's a professional foul. It's 10 minutes, simple as. Nothing happened, and then we saw at the end of the first half, Reece Martin got 10 minutes for holding down, and it was a professional foul. So you just want a bit of clarity of, what do you deem as a professional foul? What's worth 10 minutes and what isn't? We had a try scoring opportunity that got taken away from us. But as far as I'm concerned, mate, Kendall's a wanker. Simple as.
Well, I was going to come on to this, Kendall.
But Leeds was unplayable.
Yeah. We was going to come on to the referee about his performance. But we'll save that for a little bit later. Let's go into detail a little bit more about the game, because you mentioned Dean Hadley and Tom Moore going off early. It is so obvious, isn't it, that this team is so reliant on Dean Hadley. Not because he's necessarily the bone-crunching tackler that's going to go out there and make a smash every tackle, but his work rate and his ability to fill in over the course of 80 minutes, it's apparent he's just so important to the team. The way that the interchange bench works is basically dependent on Dean Hadley's availability and his ability to be on the pitch. Take him out of that, and we seem to be on the back foot. And that's what's becoming apparent, isn't it, Bazza, that if Dean Hadley's off the pitch, we saw it in the Challenge Cup final, when Dean Hadley's off, the plan B, we have a plan B, but it's not good enough to then counteract what's coming. And this is the problem, isn't it? When we get the adversity, someone like Dean Hadley going off, we're not able to respond like we used to do, or we're not setting the platform. And to be fair, Woody Peters was right what he said after his post-game comments. We did start off well. We was, you could see the tone of the side, fast, aggressive, getting into that, really playing at a really high tempo that Leeds were struggling with. And then it just, like a pack of cards, fell down. And once, for me, the big one was once Hadley and Amon went off, Amon came back on. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's not going to win any beauty competitions, is he, the way that he looked at in that game. And when you look at the effort he put in defence, it was... I was surprised he managed to see out the game. He did, and that's great credit to him. But we were just reeling, and Leeds just took advantage after advantage. Yet still, as good as Leeds was, when you look at the scoreline, we coughed up the ball, Bazza, in so many positions, so many opportunity. Mikey Lewis kicking the ball out, not kicking the ball out on the full for when he's got things like that just absolutely killed us on the night. And what we didn't need to do is make them mistakes, because Leeds were red hot. They were sniffing for blood, weren't they? 18,500 people in that stadium. Their biggest game of the season. Like you said, great tribute to Rob Burrow, raising awareness about M&D. We didn't need to give them a leg up. And as soon as we just gave them an inch, they took it, and we kept doing it. And they just, they just, swamped us, and we couldn't respond to that.
No, 100%. Absolutely. Bob on there, John. And we've been saying it for weeks, when we've been beating teams like a York and even Lee the week before, when they had players missing, the amount of ball we was giving away and coughing up. And we've been saying for weeks, you can't do that against one of the top teams, because you will get punished. And we saw it firsthand on Friday night. We got punished. We gifted so many tries and so many play the balls for Leeds in our 20. We were just constantly putting pressure on ourselves and that's just taking juice out the tank. And as the game went on and the temperatures of the night, we just had nothing left, and we didn't do ourselves any favours. Uncharacteristic errors, and you don't become a poor team overnight. But something don't feel right. This hasn't happened just against Leeds. We've seen it in recent weeks against teams. The uncharacteristic errors in our side. Don't get me wrong. The aggression's been all right against Leeds, and like you've just said, we was fast, but something's not quite right, and we've been dropping off tackles for weeks, and right now it's not good enough. And I'm not writing the season off, mate. We've still got a hell of a lot to do, and we've still got a hell of a lot to play for. But if we carry on like that, will we make the six? Would we deserve to make the six? You see teams like Wigan and whatnot, they come good and they are ruthless, and for some reason we're just not showing that right now, and I can't put my finger on it. And if we carry on like that, mate, I do fear for us going forward. I've got to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, you have to probably go back to the Warrington semi-final, don't you? And then prior to that, probably the St Helens game at home, where you've gone. And I know I'm preempting some of the questions that are in question time, but the last time that the Robins put in a really decent performance. That said, we've probably, well, it's not probably, we have suffered a few more injuries. And what's always going to happen is there's always going to be a comparison to last season, where we swept all before us, and quite rightly so. Why won't we compare it? Because that's the only thing we can relate it back to when you're in the pursuit of glory. It's the only thing we've got to compare. We've never been in this position before. Now we're chasing. Don't get me wrong. I keep mentioning it. We are the world champions. We came out on top in the biggest game of the season so far. It's bigger than the Challenge Cup final, no doubt. We came out on top of that. But what is happening is the side that we saw last season to this season, and I don't think it's as simple as Mickey McElroy and Jadwar-Hargreaves, but the forcing things more this season than we saw last season. And what we became really good at last season is going through that process. We just went through it. We grinded teams down. I hadn't really seen it this season where we've been able to grind the result out, and it's not looking like a Willie Peters team, as daft as that sounds, because we seem to be, whether it's because of enforced errors, whether it's because of refereeing performances, whether it's because of that desire to win and players going out and doing things that they wouldn't normally do, but we don't look as solidified as what we did last season, and we're not laying that foundation down. And that's not just this Leeds game. This is across probably the whole season, isn't it? Apart from Brisbane, where we did lay that foundation down, but obviously, Brisbane did come back, but we laid the foundation, and I don't think we're doing it enough this time. And there's still a lot to come from this side, isn't there? We've still got a hell of a lot of the season to play, but it feels like when we drift away from that starting 13 that Willie Peters loves to play, we're not quite there. And is that? Do you think, Bazza? Do you think the reason why is that because we haven't had rotation in the side, that actually when we drift away from that starting 13, that Willie Peters that we know he wants, we're not quite at it?
Potentially, but if you want to go back to last year, we did make some changes throughout the year with personnel, and we did rotate a little bit last year, and we did cope all right last year. But for whatever reason, the only thing I can think of is when we have adversity in a game, we just don't cope well. And we don't cope well with chasing a game. And when things don't go our way, whether it's a bad call from the ref or going behind on the scoreboard or a mistake on the field, I feel like it's once the heads go down, they stay down, and they don't seem to have any answers. I don't want to be too critical. Maybe sometimes I'm being hypercritical, but I think you're right in what you say. We do expect more because we have laid that platform. We've set that bar, and we've set it quite high. So you come to expect at least that level of performance. And unfortunately, in recent weeks, mate, we haven't seen it. I think the most complete performance I've seen this year is St Helens and Warrington. I know there was Brisbane, but we'll let them back in. But if you want to go on a complete dominant, destroying performance, an OKR performance, that was against Warrington, that was against St Helens, and we do have that in our locker. Why it's not there now, I don't know. Are the boys battered, bruised? I mean, they're all going to be battered and bruised at this time of the year, but something feels amiss, whether it's within the club, whether it's to do with Willie Peters departing. Something's not there, and these boys are capable of challenging for silverware. I mean, it's not all dum and glum. You know, we're in the top 4. We've made a Challenge Cup final. We beat Brisbane. You know, we're still doing all right in the season. The season's not done. But I feel like if we carry on the way we are right now, the season could potentially be done in the next 3 or 4 weeks for us if we don't fix things up. And I know we'll come on to it, but we've got a perfect opportunity against Hull FC because we've seen our boys raise the game. But if you want to flip it, Hull FC right now, they'll be licking the lips ready to play us because the amount of uncharacteristic errors OKR have got in them at the moment, I think any team will be licking the lips coming up against us right now. So I think we just need to rediscover ourselves, rediscover our form, and get back to doing what we did best last year, and that's being aggressive. That's bullying teams. I wish I had an answer for what's going wrong right now. And you know, you can see in the first 10 minutes of games, the boys are up for it. They're going in, they're going aggressive. And we saw it against Leeds, we saw it against Leeds. But when that one call goes against us, our heads go. And I don't know, I feel like we just drop off. I mean, I could be completely wrong, John, or it's just how I'm seeing the game right now. And
I'll tell you what, Bazza, let's look at, you know, and the whole thing about the Robin pod, it's opinion, isn't it? It's about our opinion about what we see and what we perceive now. Whether we're right or wrong, it's our opinion. But the stats don't lie, particularly against Leeds. 37% of the ball, 58% completion rate. Leeds made double the amount of meters that we made. We had 49 missed tackles. This is becoming a feature, missed tackles, when we're playing, you know, sides are half decent. No one Rovers player made over 100 metres. Tom Davis, he was the highest metre maker. And then you start looking at individual players. Reece Martin, 8 missed tackles. Pet Hickam, 7 missed tackles. Elliot Minchella, 7 missed tackles. We made 14 errors. Mikey Lewis made 4 of them. But on the flip side, them boys on the back of Dean Adley, they're not been playing. Tyrone May, 26 tackles. Carl Lawton, 38 tackles. Tom Amon, you know, 36 tackles. Jai Whitbread, 44 tackles. James Batchelor, 47 tackles. Elliot Minchella, 38 tackles. And you know, what it paints a picture of is, you know, the efforts there. You know, the boys are doing it tough in the middle, but we're then compounding it with the errors. We're compounding it with the daft offloads. And I'll tell you what, I mean, we can't not talk about it. Tavita Pangai Jr., new to the side, 8 minutes in, put on report. We've now subsequently found out what, you know, the ban he's received on the back of that. I just want to get your opinion on it because I'm furious about it, and I'm not furious at it because I think he's been hard done by. I'm furious for what he did and how it came about. But I want to get your view first, Bazza.
My view, and this with my red and white tinted specs on, should he have done it? No. But how many games do you see in rugby league, whether it's a local derby, whether it's Hull Rovers, Wigan Saints, a high tempo, high ferocity derby, or a high ferocity game like what we was in? How many players do you see get a facial on the ground? It happens more than you actually. If you actually look for it, it happens a lot. You give them a bit of a facial, right? It does not look great. It doesn't. You could argue, was the intent there to gouge? It should have done it. No, it was giving him. It was getting under his skin. But Jake Connor had done his job by getting under Tavita's skin. Simple as that, right? He lost his head. He was trying to get under his skin. And sometimes, you know, we've seen teams do it to Mikey, give Mikey a facial, try and get under his skin, knock him off his game. I understand what he did, You see it in every single game. A player on the deck will get a facial or whatever, a bit of grubbiness. I think I think 6 games is wrong. 1 to 2 games, I get. I'm pissed off that he did it because we need as many bodies right now as possible. No, he shouldn't have done it. I can see the niggle in the game because there is niggle in the game. But my argument is Jake Connor milked that. Now, if you don't believe he did, everyone's entitled to his opinion. He laid down, put his hands over his face. Once the ref dealt with it, it was on his feet. There wasn't even a mark at any eye watering. He got up, kicked a penalty. Right. Tavita got 6 games for a facial. Didn't cause no harm. Sam Walters, who was already high on points, nearly broke Bill Leyland's neck and get 7 games. And he only got 7 games because he had a shit record. Had he had a clean record, that would have been half that. So where is the level of consistency? A ban is justified, but not a 6-game ban. That does not sit well with me. He shouldn't have done what he's done. It's grubby, but you see that in every game now. I know I sound like I'm trying to justify his behaviour. I'm not. But 6 games is, Sam Walters got 7 for nearly breaking Bill Leyland's neck. And he only got 7 because he had a lot of disciplinary points. Like I say, Sam Walters has got a clean record. He's probably getting 3 games for nearly ending someone's career. Tavita Pangai Jr. give Jake Connor a facial. You'll watch it back. Jake Connor got up and fucking laughed, right? He's played it like a fiddle. In the match review panel, all they've seen is that one clip. There was a needless. He jumped on afterwards. He didn't need to jump on. And all I've seen is his finger close to his eye. Once the penalty was awarded, Jake Connor was up. Played him like a fiddle, and fair play to him. We'd be waxing lyrical if Mikey had done that and got a player done. But it's not acceptable. But the punishment is not justified. We saw Ben Garcia, I think he got 4 games last year for striking 2 Rovers players. So where do you get 6 games from, Jono? That's what does not sit well with me right now.
No, and look, mate, the reason I'm furious is how that situation came about. How did it come about? Tavita Pangai Jr. trying to offload the ball in the most ridiculous of places when we're under the pump,
yep.
Right? And then for me, he's then followed that up with trying to make something happen. He's not trying to dislodge the ball. He's trying to get under Jake Connor's, whatever Jake Connor's saying to him, whatever. But let's rewind and go back to why that ball was loose in the first place. Now Jake Connor got it. And it was because Tavita Pangai Jr. offloaded in a ridiculous situation. And what I want to link it back to, Bazzer, is what we were talking about. Losing the ball in staff places, not going through the process. Process there should have been 4 tackles up, 4 runners in, maybe on the 4th play, release the ball and get it down the line, or go through the 4, get a long kick deep, 5, go through that process. And you've got Tavita Pangai Jr. trying to offload there, and then you've got Jake Connor laid on the floor. He decides to put whether he gouges his eye or not, this is a problem when Sky Sports use these cameras that are from fucking the 1970s, where you don't get clear image on what actually happened. But there's no doubt whatsoever, he did make contact with his face. There looked to be a little bit of movement around Connor's eyes. And this is where it's a coach killer. Because what does Woody Peters say? We lost the ball, and then we've not only done that, they get the penalty, and with 3 times they got penalties. Jake Connor just 6 points. For we have the Reece Martin sin bin, we have the shepherding under the sticks where they got the penalty, and then we've got that, and they're just the frustration things where we're giving away points for free. And with Pangai Jr., I do think he was wound up for that game. I do think he was on a short leash, because you saw it with the I think the Sevo tackle where they put him into touch, and then he's in the crowd. Pangai, he's looking at the crowd. He's over Sevo, and you're like, fucking hell, mate, come on. Like, just, you've done your job. Great job. Brilliant tackle. Stop to try. And that's where I have very little sympathy for it. I understand what you're saying. I think what we're saying is two different. I agree with you.
No.
The sentencing and the bans and the different.
I'm on your side, mate. I totally get where you're coming from. I back you 100%. Out of order, shouldn't have happened. We see facials all the time. I just can't get my head around a 6-game ban. I just want a bit of clarity on that. I can't work it out. It was out of order what he'd done. He messed up. He offloaded, cocked up. He'd already let Jake Connor get under his skin. And, yeah.
To be fair, Baz, it wasn't that much longer. After that, we saw McDonald on Lewis. But we didn't see a close-up of that, did we? We just saw the incident. Obviously, we get the penalty, slot over the 2 points, but we didn't see anything clear there. But for me, in the Western Terrace, it looks like there was a very similar situation, but I didn't see then any close-up replays of then what happened.
That's it. And Mikey gets a lot of attention on that field. And McDonald, it was at Mikey all game, late shots. And that's what I'm saying by you just want consistency, a bit of clarity. And I'm not excusing Tavita's behaviour because it was out of order. I'm just not happy with the level of ban. I think it's wrong. And there was a lot that went on in that game. What went unnoticed. I think Kendall got drawn in by the crowd. Personally, I think it was too embodied in the MND round. It felt like it was too attached to it, and it felt like the Leeds atmosphere was controlling certain parts of that game, which, we've had it ourselves at Craven Park, and with it, the MND round, of a lot of emotion around it. I don't know. I think at times Kendall lost his bottle, and this is what I'm saying about how we used to be aggressive, like Leeds was aggressive, and they're getting away with stuff. We counteract that with some aggression, but it looks, according to the referee, we're just the wrong side of being legal in a tackle. We're getting pulled up all the time, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if it is our technique, our line speed, our discipline, but we seem to be getting flagged all the time for it. But yet we're seeing teams do it to us and getting a lot of joy from it and not getting pulled up. So I don't know, mate. I don't want to sound like a crying little bitch about the refs, mate, but you just want a level of consistency. And I thought Kendall was absolutely shocking when we played Lee the week before, mate. So this isn't because we got beat. I just thought he's had 2 shocking games against Rovers when he's been in the middle, when Rovers have been playing. And yeah, I
think in my opinion, mate, and I've been to Leeds Rhinos too many times now, countless times, and there always is that feature, and it where Leeds get a roll in the first half, you get penalty, boom, 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 and then it always then comes back in the second half. It's too late then. The penalty count, the penalty counts then start saving up. I tell you what, one decision I wasn't happy with, but maybe this is because of the Robins. It's become a feature when we get to the back end of the game, the half, we start to lay on a little bit more. But if you count Martin from when he lays on, and now there's 3 seconds left of the game, he lays on and then he's yellow carded for laying on. There's 3 seconds of the game left. And I think his initial contact was only from a second before. Why has it become so? Obviously, Rovers have been pinged for it. Lewis got pinged for it not that long ago. And but for me, that just seems to be just almost a show of arrogance from the referee to go, I'm the boss. When you look at actually in terms of the game, Leeds were like mid-table, midfield. They weren't really going to do anything. They'd have probably got one more carry. Like, I just thought we got pinged so necessary there. And ultimately, well, not ultimately, but Reece Martin being off the pitch for 10 minutes in the second half.
Massively.
It hurt us.
And that's what I mean. I felt like that was premeditated. I felt like Chris Kendall had made his mind up before the incident had happened. Someone was walking. And this is what I go back to, what is deemed as a professional foul. Mikey Lewis was taken out of a try-scoring opportunity in the first few minutes, you know. Is that not a professional foul? Reece Martin lays on a second too long. Kendall made his mind up, mate, as soon as that tackle was made. He's going, you know, and you just want a level playing field. And maybe we're just feeling it more because we're seeing our team getting rolled down the middle and it feels like everything's going against us. But with respect, mate, even when we've been winning, we've seen absolutely dreadful performances by the man in the middle, and they have been called out. So, yeah.
Okay, let's look at some of the individual players very quickly before we move on. We've got Steve Till for Robins Revisited. Of course, we've got question time, and we've got to speak about Magic Weekend. Cal Lawton at hooker. There's no doubt whatsoever ever he's got an engine on him. He motors and motors and motors. What's becoming apparent to me is his distribution from the hooker is waning a little bit. You know, you've got players catching the ball up high. You've got, you know, and it's what you find in Super League is whether it's in defence or attack, them half a second, 1 second delays just cost us so much. And Lawton's got great versatility, but for me, other than doing them, then opening 20 minutes like Mickey McAlorum did, he needs to be away from that hooker role because I don't think his distribution is helping us in attack. And Bill Leyland came on, but it just highlighted to me, Cal Lawton's performance highlighted to me how much we are missing Jez Litton right now. Yeah,
100%. And again, I don't know about Jez. It'd be ace if he could feature against Hull FC because, you know, the last 2 weeks against Lee and Leeds, we've not looked great out of dummy half. And like you just said, the delivery of service, it's not being crisp. And look at
the thing. This is no one's saying about injuries. I tell you what, from outside, but look, we've got. If you look at, we had Litton, Sue, luckily Burgess, Morg, right? Well, if you put Morg and Litton in with Taro May, Mikey Lewis, Elliot Minchella, that is, you know,
that's fine.
No one mentioned injuries when it's Rovers.
No,
from the outside world, it's almost like just brushed over that. You know, everyone else suffers from injuries or everyone else is missing players, and yet we just go about our business. Now, don't get me wrong, not always effectively, but we are missing some really important players in especially in an attacking sense, who would make such a difference to this side.
Well, this is it, and especially in the forwards, when you're missing Jesse Sue and Sam Luckley. I know Jesse hasn't covered himself in glory since Wembley, but you know that's a good bit of work down the middle, and I think we're seeing the impact of that right now because you know your forwards lay the platform for your backs to work off, and Mikey and Tyrone, you know, they haven't had a great deal to work off, especially against Leeds, and that's because we was getting rolled. And you go in, when you mentioned earlier about the stats with the tackles, what the boys have made. I'm sorry, mate, but I don't want to see our boys making that many tackles because then that means we're doing all the defending, mate. We need to be the ones rolling, making the meters, not the tackles, and that's what's important. And yeah, we need some stars down the middle to lay that platform for our outside backs because when our outside backs, Mikey, Tyrone, Petter, Tom, Gilly, when they're on, mate, they're on. But that platform needs to be laid by the forwards. And once we get that stars back in the middle, you know, I think we'll be all right. But right now, mate, we're just too light in the middle.
Yeah, too light and doing too much work.
Yeah.
In defence. Okay, right. I appreciate if you're listening to this on your podcast or watching it on YouTube. Hopefully we've dissected that. Look, we move on. Willie Peters famously always talks about it's the next game, which is the most important, and we've got I don't want to say a big game because it's not really a big game. We're playing a lower league side in Liverpool.
Wow.
And the fact it's aside from the same city of us doesn't really bother me because They've been pretty abysmal. But we've got all that to talk about. But before then, let's invite Steve Till back in for Robins Revisited.
Hi Chris, well, Magic Weekend this weekend, but I'm going to go way back to the very first Magic Weekend in 2007 when the fixture list included Rovers versus Hull in Cardiff on the very first Magic Weekend, and fans had looked forward to this match for a long time, but no one 3 weeks before the match realised what was to come, because a week later, that's 2 weeks before the match, Paul Cook became a Rovers player after spending all of his career at Hull FC. And in fact, it was at Cardiff where Cook had one of his greatest moments in 2005 when he scored the match-winning cup final try for FC. But he returned to Cardiff as a red and white. And did those Hull fans let him know what they thought of that? Because there were chants of Judas throughout the early part of the match. Hull FC fans letting Paul Cook know what they thought of his acrimonial departure from Hull to Rovers. Well, he defied the taunts of the fans, although he dropped the Danny Tickle kicked off, and it was Cook that dropped the ball. But that was the only mistake he made. Lots of questions had to be answered, and he answered them brilliantly, much to the annoyance of those FC fans who continuously, as I say, screamed Judas. Cook had all the answers. With Rovers' first set into FC's territory, Cook forced an error from his big mate and former halfback partner, Richard Owen, to allow Makali Azul to score, and Cook duly converted. He then got a penalty. He kicked that, so that made it 8-0 to Rovers before Hull had got anywhere near the scoreboard. And not only that, he linked up with Stanley Jean to put Ben Cockayne in and convert another try, so it was 14-0 to Rovers just before half-time. Actually, right on half-time, Hull managed to score a try through Gareth Rayner, and then 10 minutes into the second half, it was Sid Donegal cross for Hull, with Tickle converting. So it was 14-10 with half an hour to go. Cook had done a lot of damage. He created 2 tries, he kicked 3 goals, and although there was half an hour to go, it was a nervous half hour for Rovers fans, but they managed to keep Hull away from scoring, so Rovers won the very first Magic Weekend at the Millennium Stadium. They beat the old rivals and they won by 14 points to 10.
Bazza, it's Hull KR against them lot at Everton Stadium. A new venue for Magic Weekend. Lots of people excited by it. Record crowd sales. It's going to be the biggest Magic Weekend in terms of people watching the game. And whilst a lot of people are telling me rugby league's on its arse, it's great to see that so many people are turning out for such an occasion. It's a new stadium. I think sometimes, though, what's really important, Bazza, is that the sides, in particular Hull Kingston Rovers, don't get lost in the occasion. It's 2 points. And on the back of losing to the Leeds Rhinos and then being 6th place in the league, albeit with a game in hand and being clear of Lee by a little bit, we need 2 points, and we need to take this like any other league game, regardless of the fact of where it is and what the occasion is.
Yeah, and let's face it, we have got we have got a bit of experience now, aren't we, playing in these big stadiums, in these big games. So I'd like to think we would handle the occasion a lot better than that lot across the river. I think we just need to be calm. We need to be focused. We need to block out the outside noise, because from what I've heard from the Ashes, that stadium, the noise, the way the stadium's created, it's like the noise stays in the stadium. It don't get lost, and the fans feel like they're on top here. So if we can hold the occasion and keep our composure, you know, I don't see us losing that game. But if we play like we did against Leeds, it could potentially be a long afternoon, because I think this is the first time since 2023. I think Hull FC will be licking the lips and see potentially an opportunity. As at the minute we're a little bit wounded, but I still think we've got so much for them. But we need to play to our potential. And it's one of them games, mate, where we need to give 100%. I don't care about the opposition. We need a good performance. And if we put the performance in what we're capable of, I don't see how we get beat. It's just finding that performance, mate. And yeah, it's going to be a great game. I know you like a stat or two, but if I'm right, Hull FC have won the last 4 derbies at Magic Weekend, which don't make good reading for the Robins. So yeah, we need to right that wrong. But on the flip side, mate, I think we're 7 or 8 games unbeaten against Hull FC, mate. So that goes in our favour. So, you know, records are there to be broken, and I think we'll have too much for them. But like I say, if we play like we have been the last few weeks, mate, I wouldn't like to call it, because we're better than that. And right now, Hull FC will be sniffing blood, and you know they'll see an opportunity. And I think this is the closest there could have potentially been to us in many years, just based on our performances recently. So we need to up our performance and not let the occasion get on top of us, mate. And I feel like this week in the build-up, I don't know if you're the same, Jono, but it don't feel like derby week. I don't feel the build-up. I don't feel the hype within the city, and I don't know. It just feels a little bit calm. I feel like Rovers have been a little bit calm and quiet over it. So, you know, maybe that can only be good for us. Yeah, bring on Saturday.
Yeah, I think Bazzy. I think, look, you know, don't get me wrong. The derby is always a big game, and it's normally a bigger game for one side more than the other because of where they are in the league table. So look, we've been there. We've been, you know, at the bottom of Super League. We've been there trying to compete, and almost, you know, these games have become really important, because getting one over your cross-city rival is a big thing, especially when the derby is so unique in our city, where you've literally got family split, workplaces split, friendship groups split. We literally see each other every day. When the rugby league season is not on, do people think we stop talking about rugby league? No, it is literally in your life every single day. That said, I think you're right. There's a bit of, it's quite quiet at the moment, and there's just probably, I don't think it's been engineered, but I think the Robins are very keen to treat this as any other game and not get sucked into the hyperbole around it. And you know, we have got to treat this like any other game, in the respect of getting back to our basics, getting back to our game plan, regardless of the opposition. And the fact it's a derby, for me, doesn't really matter because of where they've been languishing for so long. Albeit, I did have the mispleasure of going to watch them take on Wigan on Saturday, and that is only because my youngest son's rugby league team were presented with the opportunity to play there. And as you do for your kids, you do things.
I didn't want to bring it up, so I'm so glad you did, mate. But
I saw Wigan close up, and I saw that lot close up. That Wigan, I was thinking, where the hell was this in the Challenge Cup final? Absolutely unbelievable from what they served up against us to what they served up at the MKM on Saturday. And as good as there was, there's still so many gaps, so many opportunities. There's so many spaces to exploit. So I'm not worried one bit. But the only worry I have is us and not executing the game plan that Woody Peters sets for the side. And it's on us. That's what it's about. If we, like you said, Bazette, you was quite right. If we play the way we can play, the way we should play, And don't forget, Bazza now, we're expecting Jez Litton, Salso Sue, Sam Luckley, and maybe Joe Burgess to come back into that side. That'll be massive if they can come into it. So
is Sam Luckley in the side? I'm not sure if he is.
I've not seen the 21-man squad as we record this.
I thought Sam was out for a couple of weeks, mate. And that's what I mean, mate. So we might have to call up on a bit of youth to put on the bench if Big Sam's out. And that's what I mean by FC will be licking the lips. If we're a little bit light in the middle, they're going to want to take it. But we've got enough skill and strength and great game management to see that game out if we play to our full potential. And I think on the Super Bowl, mate, I think they've got Rovers slightly favourites.
I don't know, more than slightly favourites.
Yeah,
There should be. I mean, going into that game, you'd expect the Robins should be favourite. I'm not getting sucked into this. Don't get me wrong. We lost to Leeds. We haven't played brilliantly, but I tell you what, we still put points past a lot of teams this season. And even when we beat York, it wasn't the most glorious victory. We still put 30 plus points past them at ease. And for what I know, they came close against Wigan, but I tell you what, so what? Because they've been piss poor for the majority of this season. And the only thing that'll stop us is if we make stupid errors and we get sucked into some kind of physical battle where they're trying to. So if we get sucked into that battle, then that's the only thing where I think may have spells in the game where they may get on top. But look, this is still a great Rovers side, and I'm relishing the opportunity of playing them because I just want this to go. You said 7 in a row. This should be 8 in a row. I want that record to keep going.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to put more nails in their coffin as we keep going. So I want a performance to build confidence. I want a proper team effort where they start believing in themselves, because it looks like they don't believe in themselves right now. And what better way to do it against that lot? You know what I mean? And quick one: are you disinfected your son right now? We did go in the hazmat suits, so there was no need for
was he a flag bearer, sir? Mate, that must have hurt. Jono.
Well, he kept looking to me and just trying to put it behind his back, and it was only when them lot kept telling him to wave it that he had
brilliant.
to do it. So, hey, look, it was quite quickly erased from the memory. And it'll be, it won't be repeated. And interestingly, the last time we was at that stadium, my son was flag bearing, and it was in the World Cup Challenge. So, I think I've got more happy memories from that stadium than a lot of them season ticket holders with black and white have. For
any Rovers fans who won't realise, but do you know when we play FC at Hull City's ground in August, September? When you check in on Facebook, you now have the option to check in at Craven Park West. True story, mate.
Really?
You can check in on Facebook at Craven Park West.
Also, as a side note, we're not even... Interestingly, how many Rovers fans are allowed to go to that game now? 5,000.
Oh, yeah.
After all the noise about safety and blah, blah, blah. Hang on. Now that exactly money. So it's amazing, and the West Upper is going to be open as a neutral area. I know for a fact because they're doing a community offer for clubs, rugby league clubs who can go purchase tickets in there, which of course means it's mixed. It's funny how times change, isn't it? Anyway, right, we slightly digress. Magic weekend. It's going to be a massive occasion. It's great to see. Hopefully, Super League taking centre stage. Obviously, we've got the World Cup, but there's not really a lot of other sport on at the time. We've got Wimbledon, but it's a great opportunity to hopefully draw in a lot of people who've never had eyes on the game because it's a great spectacle. There's some great games. I'm glad they've gone back to the derby format, especially for us. I'd rather us play them not than play one of the top sides. So, there's lots to enjoy about it. And Robins are going to be backed in great numbers again. I mean, it's unbelievable the support the Red and Whites take, the amount of people who go to these games. So, yeah, let's see what happens. Hopefully, team-wise, the players who have been missing for a few weeks will be back, and then we'll see where that takes us. I've not lined up the question time jingles, so apologies. I'm sure you're desperate to hear them French overtones, but let's go into question time. Basil, there's loads of questions. We're going to have to go through these quick fire to make sure we hit the 60-minute mark. A lot of it, though, to be fair, mate, has already been stuff we've talked about. And look, let's have a look. Julie Rodman, great follower of the Robin Pod. She says, have the crowd become complacent as well as not getting behind the lads? Now is the time they need us more than ever. You mentioned it previously, didn't you, about the East Stand? And
yeah.
To be fair, I think we rallied in the last game against Leeds.
Goosebumps. It was phenomenal. It was incredible. I think right now, mate, amongst the fans is there's a bit of niggle amongst fans, a little bit of petulance, arguing, and there's the debate of someone going to Rovers for 30 years, someone going for free. As far as I'm concerned, mate, everyone is paying their hard-earned money, whether you're a new or old supporter. Everyone's entitled to an opinion on the side. I think all I can say is it's just how our opinions are delivered. I get the frustration at the time. Just be mindful how you deliver your opinions. Just try and do it in a respectful way and not argue with one another, because we're better than that.
Yeah, and to be fair, mate, I was going to bring that up because I saw James Perlin, he put up a great post in, I can't remember which Facebook group it was, but saying, look, whether you've been coming for 5 years, for 50 years, 50, whatever, if you pay your money, you've got a valid opinion. It don't mean you're wrong. And also, the fact that you might have been going for 30 years don't mean your opinion's more worthy. It just means that everyone's got an opinion. And I think that's where we've got to be really respectful of, look, if we want this club to grow, we need more people through the turnstiles, buying shirts, being a Rover supporter. So if we don't want to, if we're not wanting to go back to them dark days, then you've got to accept that there's new fans coming in and their opinions are as valid as anybody else. And also, anyone can have a bad opinion. It don't matter how long you've been watching Rovers. There's no doubt whatsoever. It's I can understand why people might think like they do, but I think generally most people are accepting of people's opinions. And I've seen a bit of a pile on social media, particularly Facebook. Seen some people, Baz, criticising Willie Peters and maybe thinking, is it time for him to go now? I think crazy talk. I think that's hang on, there's a hell of a long way to go. And that guy, he's walking on water. That said, on the flip side, you can still question some of the decisions he makes. That's natural, healthy debate.
Mate, we was on the crest of a wave last year, winning everything. And we would still question certain decisions, what Willie had make. Sometimes I was right, sometimes I was wrong. But, it's human. He'll get decisions right. It's the best thing since sliced bread. He'll get decisions wrong. People will question his ability. But at the end of the day, no one's accomplished what Willie has. And, yeah.
Yeah, Matt Brady, he says, it's more of a statement, and I'd like to get your quick opinion on it. I'll call this now. This is what Matt Brady says. Rovers will win the next 8 games. Well, all I look to is after Magic Weekend, we've got Wakefield, and who knows what they may come up with at the moment.
This is the thing. We've seen the best of Rovers. We've seen the best of Rovers this year in spells. So, again, if we can kickstart our season at Magic and play to our potential, Matt Brady is absolutely bob on. There's no reason why we can't go on that winning streak. Right now, we need to try and stay positive. I know I've been a little bit negative this afternoon, but I think once we get that confidence back, who's to say we can't go on an eight game winning streak, So, mate, I love his positivity. Yeah.
Carol Moore, she says, would you put Tavita Pangai Jr. in a Rovers shirt again, or has he blown his chances? I suppose the thing is, Bazza, whether you agree with his length of ban or not, we're getting him back at a decent time of the season. He's obviously not fully fit, and he's also got a lot of making up to do. So, he could be a really useful weapon at a stage of the season when we need him most.
Yeah, it could. I think for people to question if you should put on a Rover shirt again, it's about opinions, and opinions are like arseholes. Everyone has one, and they're entitled to it. I think that might be a little bit far. We've seen Mikey make some mistakes, and more noticeably York first game of the year. So it was a mistake. He's done wrong. I think he's been harshly sentenced by the match review. It definitely deserves a ban. Again, it was a heated game, mate. He lost his head. He lost his cool. I think that was more out of frustration because we was on the back foot. We was getting rolled. He was trying to make something happen. He coughed the ball up. His head went. Shit happens, mate. It don't make him a bad player of a one incident. So.
No, Gary Lee, he asks, of course, not been on the Robin Pod for a while, actually, Gary. I need to get you back on. He says, do you think Rovers as a team are too nice? There seems to be an extra grubbiness to those playing us this year, most of it going unchecked by the officials. Should Rovers start to give as good as they are getting? If you listen to opposition supporters, though, Bazay, I think a lot of them think we're the dirtiest team going. So it's funny how different eyes have lead to different opinions.
I think he's right, mate. I think we've lost our intensity a little bit, and I think when we start to show that intensity again, we're getting pinged for it. So, no, I think Gary's absolutely bob on there. We do seem a little bit too nice at times, and when we do turn it up, again, we're getting pinged in the middle by the refs. So, I think we just need to do it, but in a legal way, mate. And yeah.
Okay, another one, Bazza. How much do you think, and this is from Mark Spike, he says, how much do you think we are missing Danny Ward and SKD?
It's hard to tell, innit?
You'll never know, will you? You'll never know.
We don't see what goes on in that back room, but what you could see from like the parades and the interviews, it wasn't like there was at work. It was like there was a bunch of mates, and that brotherhood. Maybe we're missing a little bit of that. So yeah, could be onto something there.
Yeah, Tom Nobley says, after last week, am I wrong to feel confident that if we play Leeds again this year, we'll beat them?
Why not? Why not? Right.
Well, yeah, why not? But what I mean is, between Vegas and Headingley, we've got. I haven't seen anything to go. Yeah.
Last year, we was on a right winning streak against Leeds. They couldn't buy a win against us. And then we nipped it at Headingley. That was the last time we beat them when Mikey went in. They could not beat us. And then once they got that victory at our place against the runner play, the floodgates opened. So
blind faith in it. Blind faith in that.
100%, mate. And when it counts, and if we meet them in knockout rugby, I'll back them. Why not?
Yeah, keep that positive going. James Perlin, he says, players look knackered on Friday and had no answers to Leeds' energy. Do you think Willie Peters' long-held policy of not resting players is starting to have an adverse impact on performances? It's one of the biggest talking points in it amongst Rovers fans right now, Bazza. Rotation. Players then not being rotated when they could give someone a rest, and then also players not being ready necessarily when they're having to fill in for injured players. I'm in two minds. If your best players are fit, you play them. Yeah,
and I see what James is saying, and I think I put it in the comments a few weeks ago. Is it time for a shake-up? And I don't think we do look fatigued. We haven't had a rest for a couple of years, not a proper rest. But again, it's the quality of our depth, and this is what separates the likes of Leeds and Wigan is the quality of their depths of their youth, and that we just quite haven't got that right now. And I think that's something we're striving towards for years to come. So, maybe we just haven't got the quality there in rotation, but we do need to rotate.
I'd tell you what, Glenn. Yeah, so following on that, Glenn Cornforth, he says, Rotation. Okay, I've not had a break since 2024 in the Challenge Cup. Week in, week out, same 21 players, give or take. Murphy, Whitehead, Charles, Leyland, even Fishwick. What's the point if you don't blood them now? Who knows? We might see on Saturday. We might see someone like a Fishwick or a Whitehead, or someone different coming into the side.
I think what you've got to factor into that.
He has made a few tweaks in the past, hasn't he? Where he's dropped players or changed it.
He has, but what you've got to factor into that is there's some great talent there. But I think once the take to the field for us in a Super League game, it then activates the salary cap, and I think we're near cap, so maybe we don't have that option.
Yeah, I've heard rumours that there's certain players who if they play, it triggers the salary cap, which is why we're probably seeing going out on loan. But, there's a lot of digging to be done in that, so we'll see. Last question, Bazza, do you think we have actually played well in a league game since it was announced Peters was going to leave? We have had a lot of comfortable wins, but that probably speaks more to how poor the bottom 7 sides have been this season. Saints at home was perhaps the last great league performance. It's a fair point, isn't it? We haven't been great in the league, have we, necessarily, consistently?
No. I mean, we saw that against St Helens and then Warrington in Doncaster, and you kind of felt with Willie coming out announcing it, it kind of galvanised the squad, and, everyone had a bit of clarity of Willie Peters' future, but I don't know, I just feel like since then things have dropped off, and it's a great point, and there has been a dip in performance, and don't forget the scouts have been over from PNG, so you don't know if they've been talking to players or unresting players. It could be absolutely anything, mate. But no, that's Bob on that. We just haven't looked.
Yeah, there's probably at this stage of the season, Bazza, there's probably a lot of speculation, a lot of 2 and 2 being put together and coming up with 5. Ultimately, come the end of the season, and we look back, that's when we'll maybe look back at this point. Hopefully, we're looking back at this point as being a real galvanising point of the season, and this is where we kick on. We've seen sides famously go on to lift grand finals from this point, win league leaders' shields. There's still a hell of a lot to play for. It starts on Saturday at the Hill Dickinson Stadium in Liverpool. A much welcome 2 points, of course, then we take on Wakefield next. So, if you go into that game, make sure you're loud and proud. Bazza, a huge thank you for your contribution once again. Don't forget the Robin Pod is powered by Budget Tyres Auto Centre, the only car specialist trusted by the players, club officials and supporters of Hull Kingston Rovers. But for now, please live, love, laugh and be happy.
Throughout the years, whatever the game, the Red Army's passion is always the same. Decades pass, now we rise anew. Rovers fans, this pod is for you. We won the cup, we ruled the league. A grand final win made us all believe. The world took note with Brisbane's fall. The Robins superb, now we won. Champions of the world.